Last Friday, there was near commotion at the Eliza Hotel, which was because a letter dated the 12th of December had been signed by the Minister for Roads, Kwesi Amoakwata. This letter was an indication that the government of Ghana, through the Ministry of Finance, had set up a financial strategy to facilitate the payment of a good portion of claims being made by road contractors in this country for various road projects done over the period. Now, they had expressed, Fidelity Bank had expressed interest in this particular, strategy, and the Ministry of Finance had raised no objection, following which Fidelity Bank was supposed to obtain the IPCs and then go on to pay these claims, which was have been validated by the Auditor General. Fidelity Bank was supposed to do this through an auction, and they were supposed to arrange a meeting following the receipt of a full list from the government of Ghana as to contractors owed. So they summoned the meeting at the Eliza Hotel. The detail in there was that between 10 and 14% of these fees owed over the last 2 years were supposed to be discounted by that amount. And all of this is supposed to be voluntary. What does it mean? Daniel Agro is my guest. He is the chairman of the Association of Road Contractors. Chief, good morning and thank you very much for your time. Did I get the facts right about the happenings as it is?
Yes, you got it right. And first, good morning to your viewers.
Right.
It's been a very daunting time for us contractors. And a prelude to this was a press statement we issued on 3rd December,
okay, which
put pressure on the government to come out with this program.
Right.
And we thought, in the first place, they could have met us to discuss the modalities for such a financing agreement.
Okay.
But then they did not. They threw us to Fidelity Bank without our knowledge.
Okay.
We received them the notice just 24 hours before the meeting. And you could see I'm sure if you were there, you could see the chaos in the room.
Right. I actually met a contractor on Friday around Ablingbe, and he told me that he had just left the meeting together with others who thought that, well, it was not making any meaning. But tell us, what happened at the Eliza Hotel on Friday?
Yes. Fidelity Bank introduced themselves to us that they have sort of agreed with the government to sort of auction 1.2 billion of our standing debts. These are debts owed to us between 2014 and 2016 per se.
Okay.
And most of these certificates have already been discounted to other banks because before you can proceed on any project, you have to borrow money in order to do it, because government is no longer paying contractors the 15% mobilization advance.
Okay.
So the banks has become our sort of savior in that direction.
Right.
Now, after waiting for all these years, losing value of the certificate because of currency depreciation.
Exactly.
And then, out of the blue, we are supposed to discount these certificates that has so low value now at between 13.5 to 14.5%.
What went into that thinking? Do you know? Were you told?
No, we're not told. But we found it that it was a way to sort of dilute the pressure we're putting on them to pay us.
So those who don't voluntarily buy into this discount of what is owed you, what does it mean? Do you lose your money?
No, you don't lose the money. That means that you continue to wait for government until they are ready to pay you. But the snag is that because this, Fidelity Bank is taking these certificates, they will be the first people to consider if there is any money allocated to the industry from the 1.6 billion or so budgetary allocation.
But I thought the finance minister had mentioned some time ago that monies had been paid to road contractors.
He said they've released 1 billion this year and they were going to release another billion.
Absolutely.
But then we don't know where that money has gone.
You don't know?
No, we've been trying to find out since then.
It was extensively covered by the media.
Yes, the media covered it. So we've been trying to find out where that money has gone. But as far as we know, there were so many outstandings from 2016.
Okay.
And now, even with road fund alone, the debt there is almost 2 billion. Before you consider GOG, the government of Ghana, which is Minister of Finance, which I believe is about 1.9 billion. So if you say you are releasing 1 billion, did it go to pay the GOG.
Okay.
And most of the people who were at the Alisa Hotel were from the GOG financing this.
Okay.
So why were they there if you have released 1 billion?
Okay, that's interesting. If they had really been paid, they wouldn't have come to
They
the
would
meeting,
have come to the meeting
for a discount, to come and push for a discount.
Exactly.
What pressure does this put on contractors? I want to understand.
You see, the whole thing is that we owe the banks.
Okay.
And the banks have been calculating their interest monthly.
Okay.
Okay? And government is offering this window.
Okay.
And they open it to the individuals. And you, the contractor, you are now to determine, do you go in or not?
Okay.
If you go in, that means you are losing another 15 or 14.5 or 13% of the value of the certificate again.
Okay.
Apart from all the interest that's accumulated on that certificate.
Right.
And the loss of value of the certificate. Although there's an argument that you can take interest from the time of the certificate to the date the bank pays you.
Okay.
But how much is that? It amounts to nothing.
Do you feel your hands are being twisted?
Yes, it's the complete twisting of our hands. It's just turning us around to show that, oh, they are doing something to pay us. You see, we have been constrained in all these matters. We've been sort of having meetings with them, and if there's anything like that, they would have told us that, oh, we are doing this, arranging this.
But you were not told.
We're not told. Just 24 hours, come for a meeting.
When was your last meeting with the Ministry of Finance, the government of Ghana?
As for Ministry of Finance, they will not meet us.
Okay.
But the roads minister has been meeting us regularly,
okay,
telling us, making promises that there will be payment for us.
Are you shocked at this financial strategy?
We're very shocked because after the announcement, you see, when immediately the government announces that, oh, money has been released to contractors, what happens? All your creditors, banks, everybody starts rushing to you. They want to know what is happening. They want their payment.
Right.
So since Fureta announced that this thing, a lot of people have been chased out of their homes.
Wow.
Because they felt the government has paid you, and you are saying they have not paid you. So they felt you are lying.
These contractors, of which you are chairman of, have some lost their lives as a result of this?
Yes.
Their jobs, people who depend on them. Tell me about that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. The intriguing aspect of the whole thing is that government agencies like Ghana Revenue Authority and SNID are locking our offices.
They are?
Yes. And even some of our people are being sent to court. Even my association still wrote us to us that they were taking us to court because we've not paid our staff contributions for 7 months. So you could see the sort of thing that is happening. A lady called me last night from Takoradi. That DRA has locked its offices for the past 7 months. You see, DRA wants to attain its
target. Right.
So they know that contractors in the past we have money. So we're the first target they started with. So several letters to all contractors over the place. And forcing them to go and pay some advance. Where do you get advance from when the government is owing you for 3-4 months, 3 years?
Are the banks advancing loans to contractors these days?
No.
Why?
They don't want to see
Why
our faces.
not?
We owe them. If we government is owing contractors about 2 billion, if we as well just imagine the amount we owe the banks.
Okay.
Why are some banks closing down? Being closed by the Bank of Ghana. If you look at the balance sheet of those banks, you go in, even Unibank, it came out over 500 million of what they were owing was owed by contractors. So you could as well see the other banks. Even savings and loan banks are collapsing because of contractors.
This financial strategy, the letter which Mr. Mokwata wrote, said that it was supposed to leverage the balance sheets of some of these banks. It's only Fidelity Bank that has expressed interest in it, which means that the other banks, whether or not they like it, they will not get a chance in this. Is that correct?
No, Fidelity Bank made us aware that they are doing this with other banks.
Other banks.
Because they don't have the whole 1.2 billion to give us.
Okay.
You know, at least banks have been asked to increase their...
Exactly, 400.
So at least banks have a lot of money now to give out. But then, at whose cost?
Okay.
That's the question we are asking. At whose cost?
Who pays for it?
If government comes out, they will take the charges. There's no problem. Then we know that we are comfortable with it. Then we can go and discount it, whatever the discount rate, the government pays. Okay. But if we are to suffer that agony again, it has to be too much for us.
So let me understand, Mr. Grow. You put in a bid.
Yes.
You won the bid. You got a contract. You have delivered the contract per the specifications.
Exactly.
Over time. And such amount, X amount of money is owed you. Yes. Now you are being asked to reduce what is owed you. So that the money can be paid for you.
That's exactly the analogy. And this after waiting for several. The bank itself stated that some of the certificates they had dates back to 2014. And we are now ending 2018. So for 4 years, you are holding that certificate, expecting government to pay you, only to be asked that, oh, come and discount it further for 14.5% of the money you are holding. So now you are losing that money without any, because there's no way you can build that back into any certificate for you to recover. So it's a complete loss.
You went out of the meeting at Aliza Hotel. What's the next step? Are you going to court? Are you going back to the table?
The bank promised that whatever our concerns were, they were presenting them to the government during the weekend.
Okay.
And by Monday, they will let us know the result.
What were the key points you told the bank?
The key point is that we want to know who bears their cost.
Okay.
And two, after we have assigned these certificates to the bank, there's our interest in the certificate ceases immediately.
Okay.
Because one, if you pay, you sort of assign this into the bank, and government doesn't pay them early, they come back to you to ask for some interest, or it's a one-time payment of discount, because discounting in this country has not been on a good thing.
Right.
So you go and discount the certificate, the bank puts it on the account and charges you interest every month. We want to be very clear of what
of these modalities.
Exactly.
In the meantime, what happens to those who are in your employment? Those whose slate says you have not paid their contribution. What happens to them?
Most of our sites have been closed down for several, I won't say several months, probably 2-3 years. Most of contractors, very few contractors are working.
Why is
very,
that
very
so?
few.
Why?
Because of this owing. You see, because the way we ourselves are not well organized.
Okay.
We should have belonged to strong associations in this country.
Okay.
So that the association sort of spearheads everything. Otherwise, these things wouldn't be happening. They are selective in who, like they give you a new project, they pay you part of the money, go and start. You go and start, you get locked up.
I see. So they advance some cash to you. Once you start,
a new project,
it stops.
It stops because you issue a certificate, you're not able to pay, it comes to a stop.
At what point did things deteriorate into this? Because it didn't used to be so.
Oh, this thing started way back 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
And the previous government went for a loan to pay us. But unfortunately, they introduced some new projects which they were calling enhanced projects.
Okay.
Which were very huge projects. That took away all the money and then left those who should have been paid still unpaid at the end of 2016. So that the fallback is what we are suffering right now. Because one, those outstandings were there. You added new enhanced projects, which bills are so high. That's why from less than 700 million, we now have about 2 billion. As an outstanding debt. With the road fund alone, we have at least four areas where we get money from. From the government, from the foreign projects, from CMB, and from the road fund.
So
all these are in
I'm
areas.
Curious, if the Auditor General, and this will be my final question to you, if the Auditor General had okayed these amounts to be paid, I'm wondering where the discount comes in at this point. The Auditor General vetted the documents.
You are right.
And says, go ahead and pay them.
Ask me. They said these certificates, there were problems with them. This after going through the system itself. There's every agency has an internal audit. Apart from all those audits, they were audited again by the Auditor General and then released. And they have been with the mindset, they have been there since December 2016.
Wow.
So you could see the suffering people are going through.
Is it affecting your private life?
Oh, yes.
Family?
Oh, yes. People are dying every day. A contractor in Florida, was it 2 weeks ago, collapsed when a bank put a bell on his building and a building plot at a very good commercial area. He collapsed.
They were auctioning the price.
Yes,
the
because he owed them and he couldn't pay, and there was a final demand, and they took him to court, and then the court ordered that the house be sold to defray the amount. He collapsed. Apart from this year alone, we lost about 9 contractors.
Wow.
Just due to stress-related diseases. If banks are collapsing, banks like Unibank are collapsing due to debt, what about we small-scale contractors? Ask yourself.
Mr. Agro, I only want to wish you well and hope that your monies will be paid for the stress to go off.
That's our hope.
That's your camera right there. I'm sure the finance minister is watching. You may want to speak with him. That's your camera.
Yes. We have been constrained to issue a statement on 3rd December about the stress which we are going through. It's rather unfortunate that although government has not paid we contractors, the agencies of government are worrying us every day. Our offices are being locked. Our members are being sent to court unnecessarily because of SNIT and tax outstanding. Although in every situation, 5% withholding tax is paid before government releases monies to us. And yet, GRA will not understand this and is chasing our members. I'm calling on all contractors to come together. This is a time for us to come together and fight what is happening to us. If you are divided, they will always say optional, it's optional. And then there's nobody to speak for us. How can you gather 200 people in a room that you are negotiating with them? We saw the chaos in Alisa. Let's now come together and fight for our right. It's our right. We work for it. And government's right on our back to success. Always they talk about the good roads they have constructed. But who did the construction? It's we, the contractors. Let's come up now and do something to show that we matter in this country.
Mr. Agro, thank you very much.
Thanks so
I wish
much.
you all the best.
Thank you.
And I can't be happy at this point. I can't be happy. I don't want to be a contractor.